Hello, my name is Nina Murray, and I'm recording today from my home for the virtual Gaithersburg Book Festival. I'm a poet, and my book, Alcestis and the Underworld, was published last year by Circling Rivers Press, a small publisher in Richmond, Virginia. I am very grateful to my editor, Jean Huitz, and this is the book that I was going to read at Gaithersburg Book Festival in person. Unfortunately, I can't see you all in person, so the organizers have been very generous in asking all of us authors to contribute readings so that we can still look for a way to connect even while in isolation. And I thought I would actually start with a poem that I wrote very recently after we have all been ordered to stay at home and not go outside too much. And this is a poem, doesn't really have a name yet. It's just called COVID-19. 1. Well chives on the playground, a single crow rehearses short laughs. 2. All things small when watched from below. A squirrel who flicks his tail, roofers astride the ridge, nail guns boom. 3. The parking lot full at midday on a Tuesday. So much for our illusions of progress. 4. Drivers slow down, children find kinship with weeds, everyone walks at the speed of a toddler. Just a few sketches of what life is like here in my neighborhood. And now I will read a little bit from my book, Alcestis and the Underworld. And this, I don't know if how well you can see it, but on the cover is a map of the downtown Moscow. I lived in Moscow for 2 years in 2016 to 2018, and most of this book was written while I was living there in Russia. And what you need to know about me is that I was born in Western Ukraine, and I was born into a Russian-speaking family, but I learned Ukrainian in school, and I had never been in Moscow in my life while I lived there. I immigrated to the United States at the age of 23, studied poetry, did a lot of other things, and eventually became a foreign service officer with the State Department. And that's how I eventually ended up in Moscow. So it was a strange experience because I grew up, of course, with all the Soviet textbooks and the pictures and the ideology and all that stuff. But at the same time, I'm also Ukrainian, and I very much identify with independent Ukraine. And I was in Moscow right after the invasion of Crimea and conflict in eastern Ukraine started. So all of those things kind of find their way into the book, but a little bit illicitly, let's say, or not quite overtly. They're covert in there, if you wish. But you can find them. And I hope that if you do get a chance to read the whole book, you will see that. But let me just read you a couple poems from here. The first one I'm going to read you is called the Sapsan Express. The Sapsan Express is the train that runs between Moscow and St. Petersburg. It is now a high-speed train, so it travels at about 120 miles per hour. It's quite speedy, so it only takes 4 hours, maybe more than that, maybe faster than that. So the Sapsan Express. I think the rail yard covered with snow and vacant is a page in an exercise book. The inky erased lines tempting the hand into intersecting traps. I think the peaked gray roofs of small houses under this lilac sky are triangular tracks of giant iron-clawed birds that spooked and flew up, rending the cloth of the hill. Metaphors to fill time on the train, in the speeding cocoon of suspended purpose. A blur, a feather twirls in the locomotive's wake. And then this is a poem about St. Petersburg itself. October 2016. The Admiralty spire, the gilded needle of the imperial compass. Pea gravel underfoot in Alexander's garden dutifully refracts erratic sunlight onto the shabby gentility of urns, the fountain's elegant arcs list in the wind. I contemplate a different life, one attained through accomplishments more after my own heart, one whose landmarks are more recognizable, but in which still there's you and boxwoods and the small crunch of gravel. This poem is called Alcestis Discovers the Hierarchy of Soviet Republics, and Alcestis here is my alter ego. I am 5 and ethnically ambiguous, dark eyes, white cheekbones, but indisputably Ukrainian and thus not classifiable as gypsy or Asiatic. Also exceedingly dutiful, so I don't mind when it's decided I am the best fit for the role of the Uzbek girl in the pageant for the International Day of the Solidarity of the Working Class. But the model in the picture book wears at least 24 braids and harvests cotton, whereas my hair often gets me mistaken for a boy and I've never laid eyes on a crop. I'm an architect's child in a city full of decrepit Baroque cathedrals. My costume's embroidered cap comes with shoelaces sewn into the rim and braided down, so problem solved. I'm delighted. Exactly until I see the girl in the Russian costume. She's blonde and has down-trimmed satin sleeves, a splendid crown like a flattened onion dome, in glitter and gold. The cotton-picking dance shows the important contribution of the Uzbek people to the GDP. I turn my hands to showcase tufts of cotton wool and become alert to the irony. The Uzbek girl and I, just 2 subalterns, interchangeable and for the moment, swapped. Okay. And here's another poem called Your Secrets. This is how you know where to keep your secrets. An orchard persists in the heart of the forest of things. Its rows spaced even and wide, once well considered, its aging branches low enough to reach, though bent to another's height, and loyal and honest in their work of bearing fruit. You may read elsewhere of apples that glow to show the way, of pale orbs, smooth, certain to catch the spare autumnal sunlight, and restive, content in the trappings of grass, a chorus, a court, to every leaf that descends unhurried like an abdicating monarch. The orchard is a student of gravity. It has measured the surreptitious contributions of worms and sketched many times rain's silent contortions in the veins of its bark. What needs here speak? Words take their leave, the tongue aches for the sour hardness of apples. I also want to share a poem that I wrote for Christmas, but I think it is applicable to our current condition because, in a way, when we live overseas, are isolated very much from family and friends because we're physically very far away. Of course, we're not homebound, but we're still somewhat in a different world. And so various things come in and mix together, and sometimes our holidays are on different days from the local holidays, so nobody else has a holiday, but we do. So anyway, I wrote a poem called A Mediated Christmas. 1. Light comes in, smooth as a cat. Where is the tinsel? That's at the gift wrap. Fits itself into cracked shells of last night's intimacies. It'll be here, dallying, when we rise to the new day. And 2. We carry on, the cards, the coals, roast and cocktails, sticky scone dough, tap a heart on each hatted and antlered dog, one eye on the timer, one on the Times, which alerts, reading fake news, Pakistan tweeted a nuclear threat, and the oven's warm. So that was Alcestis and the Underworld, which is published by Circling Rivers Press, a local small press in Richmond, Virginia, which produces really high-quality books. I encourage you to visit their website and check out their other offerings. Since then, I have also produced this little book. It's called Minor Heresies. I did not choose the cover. It is not me on the cover, however. I wish my hair did that, really do. This is produced by a small press in Kentucky, and it's called the Heartland Press, and all the proceeds, if you do find this book and buy it, go to support a creative writing program at a small college in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. So you would be doing good and supporting education. These are just some poems that are new or newer than what ended up in my long book. So I thought I would share a couple of poems from here. One of them is just a poem that imagines an alternative version of events. I wrote it after I heard that the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un traveled to China, and he does not fly, he traveled by train. And if you sense a theme with trains in my poetry, that's because I love trains, really do. In fact, I wouldn't mind having my own train, as Kim Jong-un does. But, so in this poem, things happen. Let's see. It's called Kim Jong-un's Train to China. A conspiracy, of course. They want him to see the beet fields and the nickel mines, they say. An ancient grove of plum trees in bloom that had driven mad a famous poet, and is not far from the wharfs where they've laid the keel of the first nuclear-powered icebreaker. The train doesn't feel like it's taken a turn. The track unspooling serenely ahead, leading on in perfect conviction. A ninth grader math whiz from Inner Mongolia, entertaining herself at the airport while she waits to board her plane to Canada, calculates there is enough track to keep the train running for decades without repeating the view. The National Science Council that gave her the scholarship takes note of this finding. Someone gets an award for having had the foresight not to mothball a party-run print shop that can now churn out fake versions of national papers with the front pages to meet the tactical want that deliver daily the visit in the national limelight the scrapbook grows. At a brief stop, one of the conductor girls is caught in a local guard selfie. Unforeseen, masses fall in love with her face, the dream of never stopping. Surveillance teams respond to the surge of chatter, recommend halting the train with a prettier backdrop next time. The girl is sighted. People guess at her name. She cannot say she is now an excellent asset. One night, she'll defect. Lured, not by the promise of a new name and face, but the pure thrill of an arching, linear narrative. And the last poem I will read for you is one I wrote after seeing a heron at my neighborhood creek. It's called Heron. I stood still and was a tree amid the wood, knowing the truth of things unseen before. It's by Ezra Pound. I stood still, but would not claim to be at all like the heron amid the running stream, upright with secret effort against the rush of muddy water, the feather-infiltrating breeze, intent on what to us appears nothing, and looked at from the shore, by each of us, equipped, uncomprehending, none with the time to share the heron's time. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in person one day. Goodbye.